Hello, welcome. I wanted to tell a story about how I spent my entire 30s on Instagram and just social media in general, but mostly Instagram is the focus here and the scene of the story. I spent my entire 30s on Instagram. A little bit before I turned 30 is when I got on, when my son was a toddler, barely, mostly still a baby. He's now 13 years old. And I was completely off social media and I got on Instagram because my husband said this would be a great way. It's just a photo album. There's nothing else to it. It'd be a great way to share photos of the babies with our family that lived an ocean away. And so I did that and I got exposed via that route to this world of Instagram yoga. Now, that being said, Instagram yoga at that time were people sharing their practice and sharing these cool, basically asanas, postures mostly transitions. And I, took that tunnel down this other rabbit hole tunnel of handstands and arm balances and this awesome world of how you can control, manipulate, and move the human body in seemingly superhuman ways. I was like, I want to do that. Now, when this really started to become this path and route I was going down was after my daughter was born. So my son was 2, and then I had my daughter on my 30th birthday. When she was 3 months old, I got really inspired by something I saw online. Probably an Instagram celebrity yogi doing upside down tricks. And I decided that was going to be something that I did. And when I decide I'm going to do something, I do it. When I decide I'm going to quit social media, I quit it. When I decide I'm going to quit alcohol, I quit it. When I decide I'm going to not even be prepared, I'm just going to jump on the mic and camera and start to tell my story, maybe start a podcast, I do it. I'm a firm believer that you can't wait for the right time. You just need to begin. And it doesn't matter what it sounds like and it doesn't matter what it looks like because you just need to start. And it will sandpaper itself out along the way. But instead of waiting for that perfect moment, you just need to start, because what's more important than that very perfect moment where everything is planned to a T is authenticity. I know. I said it when I'm a yogi and I said the word authenticity. But I mean the fire inside, when you have that passion, that inspiration burning. Act on that. Because if you wait and you have that fire, and so that puts you in planning mode, like, oh, I should do this. Okay, here's my list of what I need to get it done. Here's the perfect mic setup. Here's the outline. Here's, my checklist. And then by the time you're done with your checklist, the fire's it's just a little tiny spark. So I say act on the passion, and that's way more important than the details. So here I am. And where was I? So my daughter was 3 months old. 3 months old. I'd given birth 3 months prior on my 30th birthday. And that's when I decided, and I saw this sort of like fast forward reel in my head at the time too. I said it to my friend who was holding my baby as I was playing around on the floor, trying to do some sort of arm balance. I said, you know what? I'm going to get good at this, and I'm going to learn how to handstand. I'm going to learn how to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm going to, become a sponsored yogi, and I'm going to make a clothing line. The whole plan, everything that I ended up doing was sparked that day. And I just started acting on the fire inside. And it did. It took me a long ways. And I did everything that I said I was going to do and then some. I couldn't even imagine the things that were going to come. So many crazy, amazing times. And with times and with life comes change. You can't stop it. You can't predict it per se. The one thing you can count on, the one guarantee in life, is that everything is always changing. Sometimes that can be really comforting too, right? Like, this moment shall pass. my little droplets of being a yogi that are going to go throughout this podcast. But before I was a yogi, I was a storyteller. I've always been a storyteller. And I went to college to be a journalist. And I've always found my way around times, difficult and good ones, with words. And I like to tell stories. And I used to be a co-host on a radio talk show on Maui. So these things all aren't that surprising that they're happening. But I think the way that it all came down and the way that it all ended and how it began and then what it became is a little bit surprising. Maybe just a little bit. I think there's a lot of things that people don't really know about what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to companies and popularity on yoga. I do think that. And I saw the transition. I was there for the transition when there was no marketing, really, to when there was just a little bit of marketing, but it was pretty docile. It was pretty harmless. And then when the big stuff came in, and then people, especially the little people that the big companies were trying to use to get bigger, when those little people started getting abused, when lawsuits started happening to silence them. Yeah, I had a behind the scenes look at some of that. Can I talk about it? Nope. Not a lot, a little. I can allude to certain things, but I can't incriminate anyone or I'll get sued too, because they shut you up with money and lawsuits. But that's really not my story. That's really not. Those things, that's just big companies, big money, taking advantage of everybody underneath them. That's old. That story has been told. That story is in the making constantly. No. The first thing I want to talk about is just why I chose to leave the gram and social media. Just pause it where it was. Everything I created is still there. I'm just not going back. It can just stay there in its moment in time, paused forever. I got tired of imbalance. I'm a yogi. It's all about balance. It's all about homeostasis and seeking and finding balance. And in that world, there was a great imbalance. I felt like I was giving constantly, creating all my creative energy, my education, my passion, all of it. I just give, content create, and really good stuff that I spent a lot of money and time getting educated to create this very quick tutorial to help change the way that you think about something and do something in that genre. And yes, people would take it. Maybe I'd have a post and I'd have hundreds of saves, but 2 comments and 1 would be about the lighting of the video. That was it. I've been thinking about it for years now, and it was more fake than authentic now, and more marketing than socializing now. And it was less a community and more just looky-loos. That's draining. And I don't want to swim through the weeds, not when they're that thick and the water's that murky. To try to get to a shore that's going to be empty anyways. And I've got things going on in my life that are very important, like my kids. And so as much energy and effort that I put towards something that is just take soul sucking, the cup runneth dry. And it was just time to leave. But I could have done the same thing as when this morning when I was like, I want to start telling this story. I could have said, nope, time's not right. I need a perfect outline. I need a perfect studio. I need a perfect scenario. I could have done that in my preparation to leave because my business literally began and kind of survives off of Instagram. But for years, I was thinking, this isn't really doing it anymore. I think that it feels like I put myself in a fishbowl and I'm just the fish banging my head against the glass. And all these other people are outside laughing and pointing at me. It's really strange when you know that people think that they know you and they're looking at you like they do, maybe say a few things, a few comments like they do, but you don't even know who they are, and you don't even know what they're saying even. And it happens even in your tiny little communities that surround you. I know that'll never end. People like to gossip. I'm not the only storyteller out there. But when you feel like you're kind of given everything and that tinted glass is in reverse where everyone can see in at you, but you can't see out, it does feel very tinted. It feels very dark and lonely. And at that point I decided, well, I actually don't think that social media and Instagram's really been fueling my business enough to make this worth it. It's definitely been taking way more than it gives, like a lot, and for a long time. So what am I waiting for? The other thing is, when you decide to make a big change, if you wait for everything to be perfect, it doesn't put you in the driver's seat. It doesn't give you that hustle and that mental adaptational resilience. And now if I pull the rug out from under me a little bit, I got to hustle. I got to figure it out. Okay, so if you're not going to use this route and you're not going to use this method, then how do you continue to do the things that you love? And how do you continue, ultimately, to make a living? Now, of course, I could go and do something different, but this is my passion. It's my work. So I'm going to always, to a certain degree, do what I do, which is to teach. So I think pulling the rug out from under myself to a certain extent is a good thing, because now I got to get resilient, and I have to persevere, and I got to find ways to survive. And that survival instinct just kicks in, and you find out what you're made of. So this story is going to take multiple episodes, and that's okay. But I think it's something that needs to be talked about, exactly what went down over this last over a decade, because now we're in it. And a lot of us grew up not knowing anything different. So it's really embedded into our system. It's trickling through our blood. And I'm not one of those. I started at 30. So I'm definitely talking about the people underneath me, younger than me. And for those that have never known a different way of being, of living, who don't really understand how to do things without social media, maybe I'm talking more to those guys. Maybe I'm talking to people that resonate and are just right there with me, but maybe I can help the younger generations. Maybe the younger generations are fed up too, fed up with watching the people, the adults, the examples just get lost in it all. And, it's all about balance, but the other really, really important aspect is being present. So that's where I'm at. And I will say that I, so far, with my time away from social media, I've taken all that creative energy and I've put it elsewhere. I've created a portal on my website, a membership portal. And now I'm making this, and I've just been so inspired. I'm not going to ever stop creating. That's my jam. I'm a mover and a shaker and a creator. I'm a mover, shaker, creator. So now I'm just channeling it into places that aren't, like I said at the beginning of this episode, abusive, that aren't like I'm desperately trying to please my abuser, and they're just take and make her feel this way and make her feel like she needs this and da da da. So yeah, it all began at the beginning, as everything does. And boy, was it exciting at first. You're on there and you're just trying to find more inspiration so that you can learn more of these things that you've fallen quickly and desperately in love with. And so I started to find and look for other yogis that were doing this crazy acrobatic practice that just had me. It got me. And so I was building my community by following them. And at that time, people actually wanted to make connections and have it and form a community. So I felt as I was at home raising my children alone a lot of the times, because my husband's work would take him away for weeks, sometimes months. I felt like I had socialization. It did. It gave me that. It gave me a community socialization, and a healthy one, where I was moving my body and stuff I could do on a 2-foot by 6-foot mat. So my baby could be right there. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't need a membership. I didn't need big equipment. I could just quietly, most of the time, practice and stay mentally inspired and stay socially connected right there with my babies on a 2 by 6-foot mat. That's pretty cool. And then the challenges began. So there was the challenge era, and that was really cool because you'd have all of these people that wanted to do and participate in the same challenge as you. So if you have any sort of a competitive streak, it wasn't about beating them, but it was like, I accept this challenge for myself. I remember when I got really into the challenge era, I'd have a calendar of the different challenges I was doing and what it would require me to do that day. Post it, tag the hosts. And I started doing pretty good at those challenges, as far as maybe not winning them per se, being the person that won whatever the sponsor was giving, but getting attention. I got more and more attention, and eventually I graduated from participating in the challenges to hosting the challenges. And that was really fun. I'll tell you what's more motivating than having a challenge to participate in is hosting one. And that goes with life. What you learn more from being the teacher than being the student. A lot of times in that being the teacher is where you really soak in the information, digest it, figure out how to translate it. So then I became the host. I really started exponentially growing at that point. Now, marketing didn't really exist in the form of ads and paid promotions and stuff on Instagram yet at that point. The beginning of marketing on Instagram looked like a company wanted you to use or wear their products in your videos and your photos. And there wasn't like a lot of legality to it either. Maybe there should have been, but there wasn't really, because a company would just reach out to you and say, I'd love to send you this for free. And the unspoken words were, make a video wearing it or using it or holding it. It got to the point where almost on a daily basis, 100% on a weekly basis, I was checking the mail to grab my free products. And a lot of leggings. And it kind of just, the ladder, it just escalated from there. It wasn't even a ladder. I didn't have to climb it. I was on the escalator. It was doing the climbing for me. So many free things. That was really exciting. Exciting until you get to the point. It takes a while when you're super excited about what's going on. It takes a while for you to realize, I don't think I need any more leggings. Wait, why am I promoting that product? I don't even want that. So it takes a while, but eventually that had to shift too. And now, of course, influencers get paid. Now, I took a different route. I never went for the paid promotion or anything like that route. And we'll talk about what I did instead, because I started to build companies. I started to be the people that wanted to send me stuff. And there was a reason. There was a big aha, fire inside, passion burning moment that I made that choice as well. I don't do anything incredibly calculated. Everything is inspired and passion and fire and now attack. But before I started building companies, I was just putting together challenges. I was building challenges before I was building companies. I was building flows, and I was teaching people how to do yoga postures online before, probably I should have, before I was certified to do so. But we're talking about over a decade ago. Things were a little bit different then. People were asking me how I did what they saw me do, and I'm hosting challenges. So in that sense, I'm a leader. And then you start to collaborate, and you collaborate with more and more of the hosts of social media, the Instagram, and together you climb your little ladder together, supporting one another on the way up. But it was so much fun because at first I had friends, and it truly was that. So I was fulfilled in that social environment. We started group chats. We talked all day. And it was just exciting. Have you done this? Have you tried this? Check this out. I got this. Little videos sent back and forth off of social media, but inspired by social media. What do you guys want to do next? What's the next challenge you want to host? Wait, here's my days. What do you guys think? Do you like that? It was so fun. Now I don't talk to any of those people. It's really sad. And worse than that, you know, your friends and your family, they're like, wow, that's so cool, so awesome. And they're like talking to you on and off social media, inspired by what you got going on. Well, no, that got all drowned out too. And then you don't hear from them anymore either, on or off social media. And here's what I think the thing is. One, they just get tired of you. They get tired of you. And they think that you get a lot of attention. They think that it's not good for you, that you're getting too much attention. It's going to your head. You're too high up on that pedestal and they want to knock you down. Little do they know the facade and the truth, which is that you've never been so empty in your life. They think that you have all the attention in the world. You need to be put in your place. And meanwhile, you've never been so alone in your life. It's sad. It's really, really sad. I know I'm being a downer right now, but it's true. So you not only over time lose those connections you made because now it's just a totally different ballgame. Everybody's questioning everything. What is your intent? What is your purpose? The companies, the hosts, what's real? What's not real? That's social media now. Who's to be trusted? Who's not? Is this real? Like, is this true information or just made up? Is this a real video or is this AI? Now we're all just questioning what in the hell is real or not. So you lose that. You lose that trust. The more widespread this question of what is real or not, what information is accurate or not, what are your intentions, are they good or not, the more that takes precedence over the just original social aspect and inspiring one another and having social connections. That's background now. Way, way, way drowned out, quiet background now. And what's at the forefront is manipulation, marketing with the intent of the people that already have money making more money, and questioning your safety and who's watching you for what purposes and why, who has access into that window of your life and what are their intent and purposes. And there's a lot of bad ones out there. I think the bigger that your reach gets, the more you realize that. Just like, yeah, there's the good, there's the 10% that are there and being really great and supportive. But then there's some creepers, man. There's some trolls and there's some creepers. And then there's definitely just massive manipulation. Like you're just a pawn in a bigger company scheme. And what happens to you does not matter. It's how you either help them or don't. And really, whether you help them or you don't, they don't care about you. They care about the big picture to them, which is money and success. I want to be successful too, but I'm not going to sacrifice my soul. So that's, I think, pretty much where a lot of people are at. And now we live that way, right? I feel like this is society now. Who do you trust? What are their purposes? What are their intent? Can't even trust what that package says, let alone what this person is saying. Is that real? Now with, AI and that whole generation, everything is questioned. Before it was just like, did they Photoshop that? Nope, not anymore. It's way worse than that now. That was child play. Now, I think I can't even blame everybody for being so worried and assuming the worst and not knowing what to believe. And you can't even blame anybody, because this is what these ginormous companies and leadership and money and technology and growth has done. Manipulated its people. It used us and then abused us, and it left us to clean up after all of that chaos. That chaos isn't over, but Instagram began, as the name suggests, an instant photo to send out to your people. And it was a social media, like that name suggests, where you could socialize and form a community. But I think they need to change the names now. There's nothing instant. And the social is anything but connected. Now that's my little dark beginning to my story of how I spent my 30s on Instagram. When I come back for episode 2, we're going to actually go through the timeline starting at the beginning and get down what happened. Thank you for listening, and I will talk your ear off next time.